leaves are the British shopping carts. How to art.
All right, welcome to How to Art, the podcast for creative, dream chasers, music makers, booty shakers, ransom takers. I don't know. I just made that up on the spot. It's probably my natural rap talent just coming out. But no, this is the podcast for taking a creative pursuit and making it a little bigger part of your life than it currently is. And hopefully we're able to achieve that. I'm Petrovita.
I'm Sebastian.
And we're gonna talk about a few different things today. Do you want to introduce what we're bringing up first?
Sure. First of all, we're going to talk about writer's block.
To the mic.
Okay. First of all, we're going to talk about writer's block.
Yep.
And basically
Big problem.
Yep. And, well, I mean, how to not get caught up in a writer's block.
And writer's block
what you can
come across in a lot of different things, right? It's not just for me, I think about it in terms of music, but we get it as well. Other people have lots of different types of it. I think almost writer's block too is a bit of a misnomer because creative block is a thing for all types of people. You might sit down and you've dedicated to, I want to create a piece of art this week that's maybe visual, and you know what the fuck you're going to paint. It could happen with that as well, but it's more common in writing.
Yeah, absolutely. But when I say writer's block, I actually mean all sorts of writing. I mean, you're sure when you're like doing a painting, you're not writing, but it still counts as writer's block. I mean, everyone knows.
You're printing your soul. You are printing your soul. All right?
Sure.
So we're gonna talk about that. Yes, as we're seeing in the chat, we have a live stream going while we're talking right now as well. Happy Thanksgiving to the people, at least on the day we're recording this.
Right.
People back in the US.
Is it Thanksgiving today?
It's Thanksgiving today.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, happy Thanksgiving, everyone who's watching.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, fuck the Thanksgiving stuff. Let's talk about writer's block. Do you want to start or you want me to?
You can start if you have anything that you...
Sure. So, for me, obviously, writer's block, I've sort of through brute force gotten rid of some writer's block habits over this past year or so, doing this live streaming thing where I've been making demos. So for people who don't know, basically what I've been doing is live streaming on Twitch, making some sort of song demo on average 4 or 5 days a week. And that means that I have to, in the space of a few hours, write something and create something as a finished product. And that's gotten a lot easier with practice. Everything gets easier with practice. But as far as specific strategies for writer's block, practice writing for a year is not it's a long term. It's not like a hack that you can use in the short term. So I think today we should focus on things that kind of, right in that moment where you're trying to think of something or get started and you can't. One thing I wanted to bring up that helps me a lot, both with writer's block as far as ideas, but also with just motivation in general, starting things, is, do you know the, I think it's called the Pomodoro method?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, so it's like, I don't know, it's probably some Pomodoro guy that was, or whatever the fuck his name is, that it was named off of after. But it's basically a productivity method of setting a timer for 20 minutes, being laser focused on a task for that amount of time.
Yeah.
And then after that, you set a timer for 5 minutes, completely disengage. And you stare at a ceiling and eat a snack, or listen to a song, or whatever it is, and then set it for 20 minutes and go. And you're working basically 20 on and 5 off.
Oh, okay.
Now, even when I would use this, I didn't often do it in... I still wasn't doing it in such a way that I would actually stick to it for an extended period of time. I didn't find it that useful for me for just like... I didn't find it that useful for me just like sticking to something for hours and hours, but what I found it really useful for is getting started and getting over the initial hump of starting something or getting an idea. And you can use it by, say, set a timer, even if you don't know what to write about, and say, even do it in a shorter, I would do it with shorter time frames. So let's say I didn't know what to write about, but I needed to start writing a verse. what I would do is I would immediately start with I'm gonna set 5 minutes, and 5 minutes I'm literally just gonna write down random ideas, anything that comes to head, like just nothing, really not discriminating at all, just write stuff.
Yeah.
And then after that time, take a step back. And the thing that usually happens is I usually end up finding an idea and going way more than 5 minutes, because the hardest thing is the very start.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I'm like into it, I could find myself half hour later deep in the middle of writing something. So I would encourage people to adopt things that kind of like things like this, using timers and things like that. They force some discipline in the very early stages of something, and that can be kind of the kick people need.
Yeah. I mean, the toughest part of like writing a song is, like, I would say, sure, now we're not only talking about music, but in general, like starting something and finishing something.
Mm-hmm.
Those are like the toughest parts, at least for me, when it comes to creating.
Yeah, I think so too.
But
In the chat, they're saying my microphone is panned hard right. Yeah, they're right and left right now, just so we're each. Don't worry about it.
yeah. But anyway, well, the things that I've sort of discovered is that, I mean, it might seem obvious, but it's something that I think a lot of people forget about creativity. They feel like they sort of need to wait out the inspiration. They're waiting for the inspiration to
Right.
strike them. So
The
they're
right time where they get an idea and something sparks.
Yeah, so instead of like actually working on something, they end up watching Netflix shows all day and just hoping that they're gonna like get the idea.
All
like
of a sudden,
all of a sudden
be
be like
have the,
be like, yeah, now I'm gonna write the best song that I've ever made or
right.
something. I mean, it might work for some people, but I don't think that's like in general. It's not a good idea. And I mean, just being able to create without inspiration is sort of like a skill that you need to hone
Develop.
in on. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even though it might not seem like you get the best results right away, I think that if you write 100 songs when you felt uninspired, maybe 5 of them will become something.
Yeah.
But if you just lay in bed watching Netflix, you're gonna get exactly zero songs written. So,
And that's key. Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like
a lot of things you find out come down to, they come down to numbers games.
Yeah.
And that you this goes, a lot of anecdotes about this in business and stuff as well, trying to take meetings, trying to take interviews. It's like job applications. You can get discouraged about the fact that you send 200 applications and only 20 even bother replying, and 10 of those said it's already filled, and 3 of them invite you to an interview. Well, that's 3 more interviews than the person who was like, oh, hardly anyone responds, I won't send anything, ended up getting.
Yeah.
And that work goes for just about everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and sometimes it could just be like hard to even find the inspiration to sit down and create when you just don't feel it. And then I think just important to try and approach your work from a different angle. Maybe just trying to do something different. Like if you let's talk about music, because that's the one thing that we know most about. So so if you start out a song usually by writing like a small beat or something, maybe start with the vocal, start working on a vocal melody or something like that. Just do something different than you usually do, and maybe you'll find yourself like inspired after a while. Like, it could also work. Yeah. So that's just a little tip.
Absolutely. Anything else from you on writer's block that you were thinking about or researching?
I don't know. I think another like important step for people would be to eliminate.
Keep going. I'm just checking the camera well.
Absolutely. Eliminating distractions as much as possible. Like try and put away your phone. Just like close all the unnecessary tabs in your internet browser, and just focus on like if the work you do is computer based. Like if you do your work on a computer, maybe try and just close all the browser tabs and just.
It's so easy to jump between a million things and think you're accomplishing a lot because you do a little bit on each thing and nothing gets done.
Exactly. I mean, that happens to me all the time, and that's just it. Like we're living in a like in an age where we get like bombarded by like notifications.
Plenty of things to do and see everywhere all the time.
Exactly. Like our senses are just being thrown things like at them like all the time. So so that's it. For me anyway.
I think another thing, kind of like when you talked about doing something very different and seeing what it sparks a bit, it kind of reminded me of I was kind of had this thought going into this discussion too, is that one of the things through these like demos I've been doing that sometimes is the kind of breakthrough piece when it's I'm not sure what to write about today or I'm not sure what to do, is going completely left field. And I think that's kind of like the numbers game we talked about. If you can get in a mindset where not every single thing you make is precious, which is hard for an artist in general, but understanding that you will still make really good things, but don't worry if there are draft things or things that end up on the cutting room floor, so to speak, along the way, then you kind of give yourself the freedom to try these very kind of oddball type things. For example, a good example would be not knowing what to do on the stream or to make a demo one day. And so I downloaded, I just went on YouTube and I literally typed like Bee Gees instrumental and downloaded like a disco beat. And then we rapped over that because I was like, I don't know what to do. And most of the other stuff we were doing was like lo-fi and stuff like that. And it ended up being really like enjoyable and fun to listen to and, spark some different ideas. And now I've done similar things multiple times since then, kind of realizing I like some of those sounds being in there. But it's not, I've never set out to do a disco album or project or even a track before. And so that was just like a way to meet something completely different head on and go for it. And I think sometimes that can help people with writer's block as well.
Yeah.
On your note, is the final thought I have is on your note about waiting for inspiration and like, watching Netflix all day and things like this. I don't think people should concede so easily that these active methods don't work. If they're like, I tried the timer and whatever, like really do it. Don't, but if you find yourself someone who still has struggling with that, I would say that if you are going to be inspired by something that happens in real life, it needs to be the whole kind of almost definition or the idea of inspiration comes from something that is different and kind of something different showing up on the radar, which means that you are unlikely to experience it from doing what you were going to do anyways with that day. And so people get inspiration from going and doing something with friends, going exploring, people go out in nature, some people's jam, but like you're much more likely to, if you are trying to like kind of catch those feelings of inspiration, you're much more likely, I think, to have it occur that way than waiting the exact same number of hours, but just doing the same routine things you would do at home. Almost by definition, those aren't likely to inspire too much in you.
No, I mean, let's be real. I mean, some people might say that they want to write like cinematic like music piece or whatever, but I mean, doing like a Netflix marathon watching Friends, you're not gonna get there by doing that.
Unlikely.
So I mean, like, yeah, I think getting out there and doing stuff will actually inspire you more, because I do feel like sometimes maybe getting away from your computer or from the canvas or whatever you use when you work, it might be necessary for you to...
beneficial, yeah.
Yeah, it might be beneficial, but like you said, it should be something real that can inspire you, and just... If you're trying to pull from real life, then absolutely do something with your friends or family or whatever, and just trying to experience something new. I think that can spark.
It's like if you're, it's almost like when you start thinking about it logically as well. How are you expecting to create something new without experiencing anything new yourself, or causing your brain or body or anything to move or do in any kind of new way? It's kind of hard to pull that from thin air, and kind of like we talked about, pulling it from thin air is a practice or an acquired skill, but you have to start somewhere and you have to build up, and these are ways you can do that. It's exactly like someone who's worked out a lot at the gym might be able to have less of a warm-up and straight up lift something very heavy in a situation in real life where they were required to do that, but they got there by training that skill along the way. And so in the same way that you might be able to, I might be able to think up an idea much more quickly now for a song. It only got there by doing it many, many times, and will only continue to improve, I have no doubt.
Yeah, I feel like some artists may feel like it sort of cheapens the idea of their art, that it's not like coming from a source of direct inspiration.
It's like spontaneous inspiration where it just,
exactly.
yeah.
But I mean, it you shouldn't think like that. It doesn't work that way. It's
And-
sometimes it does, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine to take your time and start somewhere. Maybe it doesn't sound fantastic or look fantastic or whatever your medium is, whatever you work with, but it can get there, and your opinion might change along the way if you just have somewhere to start. Because, like you said, getting over the initial hump, that's the most difficult part, and if you do that, I think you can.
And sorry, I lost it. You said something that sparked something for me that I was gonna try and like piggyback onto, but now you mentioned that that's not always how it works, trying to get this pure spontaneous inspiration. And one thing I was gonna note is that despite the kind of idealistic notion of like, oh, people know when it comes from the heart and stuff like that, and like, yes, when something is truthful, it's easier to sell. But your audience, be they listening to what you made, viewing what you made later on, whatever it is you create, they don't know the difference. Without you telling it, they don't know the difference in the backstory of how something came about. And I can guarantee that there are some absolutely amazing songs that people started whistling a random melody on the spot, and they went and recorded it in one take the next day. And there's 100 more for each one of those that were born out of someone literally just sitting and staring at a notebook page and grinding it out and re-editing it and doing it that way. And you as a listener just think they're both really catchy songs that you enjoyed later on.
Yeah, and in the end, I feel like people aren't really gonna care that much about the time you spent or what like. Because it's mostly about their own interpretation of the song,
or the end result.
The end result. I mean, look at how many people like Despacito, and I mean, I don't think I don't think that song could have had much.
Slowly.
I don't think it was inspired by
Slowly. It's about going slow, so baby, he can last long.
Yeah,
that's art. Ding! Smiles at the camera. Teeth shine. Well, we could move on from writer's block. Hopefully that gives you guys something or was interesting, maybe something useful, and jump into reviews.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's do the biggest first, I think, as we've been doing last week.
Absolutely. And the first album that we chose for the big release of the week. That sounded wrong.
Big release of the week.
Yeah. Yep. It's Anderson Paak, Oxnard.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
This is a pretty long album, right? It was like 56 minutes, something like that.
I don't know, but it had many songs on there. So
I'm pretty sure I looked and it was like 55 or 56 minutes on Spotify. So almost a full hour of music from Ole Anderson here.
Yep. And it came out last Friday, I think. Yeah, November 16th, 2018.
What are your first impressions on that?
Well, it's a good album. Like if I'm gonna summarize it down to that, it's a decent album, and it has some really really nice songs that I enjoyed. But I felt like it was let down by other parts of the album where you could just tell that, I mean, it sounded less inspired. It just...
You're saying it didn't sound like you had spontaneous inspiration for every song? We're not supposed to know that. We just had a discussion.
God damn it. I actually heard it when I said it, and I was like, God damn, did I just say that? Okay, let's edit that out. Okay.
Cutting room floor.
Yeah. No, but anyway, what can I say about the album? I mean, it was produced by Dr. Dre. And I mean, you can tell that from the general vibe of the album. Like,
Yeah.
like when I told that to you, you said, "Oh, that makes sense."
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, why did you say that? Like, why?
Yeah, I just like I had known two reasons. One, context-wise, of like the beats and mood of the album. I could see that being the case, and also knowing I've seen before and there's features from
Yeah.
Dre, or at least one
Yeah.
on here as well. But I've seen before. I think I've seen Anderson .Paak talk about how also Paak. Where does this go? Because I've heard it different ways.
Anderson .Paak.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's tough.
I say Anderson .Paak.
Right.
But,
The double A makes you kind of think of like a soft sound, but I thought it had more of a Paak sound when I've
Paak.
but yeah, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've heard him say it.
I don't know. In any way,
Regardless, Dr. Dre produced it, and it was. I was gonna say in one of the Anderson interviews that he had before. I think I've noticed before him mentioning looking up to Dre and like wanting to work with him, and so he's gotten to a level that he can this last couple of years maybe, and so that was another reason I said yeah, it makes sense that.
Yeah. For me, it was like it feels like there are two different Anderson, Paak.
Anderson Pac-Man.
Pac-Man. And we have the like smooth R&B soul singer, and we have the
Yes, Lord. Sorry.
Yeah. I almost got scared. I
I didn't warm up for that.
Anyway, so the smooth like crooner,
Yeah.
soul singer.
Exactly. And that's the context I'd seen him in originally.
Yeah.
Which I think most people.
I don't know. I think like if you've listened to his albums, you know that
Okay.
he's like both a rapper and a singer. But for me, like his raps are, it's never any like I don't have any complaints with him. It's just less interesting. Like he has a good flow, he has a good voice for it and everything, but it's just less unique than like the songs that are more like soulful and everything.
I see that.
So and he also has a few songs where he's like in between singing and rapping. So like in there's a song from this album called Sweet Chick that I actually really like, where he sort of had like this singing rap type and then like type of singing, and then he had some feature like guest vocals from BJ the Chicago Kid. I don't know if you know about him, but I think they've
Heard of him, but
they've collaborated before. I'm pretty sure of it. But yeah, what else can I say? Like one of my favorite songs of the album actually was due to one of the features,
okay.
which was, let's see here, I'm trying to remember what the song was called. Cheers with Q-Tip.
Yeah.
And it was just surprising to me to hear like Q-Tip being like a legendary like rapper, or so like he sounded very like fresh and just had a lot of energy for being like an old head rapper. So that was interesting to me. Just had a really nice vibe to it. So what about you? Like, what were your standout tracks? And
So this is kind of interesting because, for some context, going into this album, I had mentioned on a call the other day to my little sister that this was the one we were going to talk about on this next episode of the podcast, and her reaction was immediately, she was like, "Oh boy." She was like, "It's not good." She was like, "It's really not good." And I was like, "Oh man." Like, she was like really like strong reaction. And I expected to like kind of not like this based on that. We have similar tastes a lot of the time. But I actually really enjoyed this album, and even when earlier before we started, you had mentioned something about not being so sure about the like and not liking the like harder tracks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I actually kind of enjoyed those, maybe just because I'm not someone who's listened consistently to his projects, that I liked a change up from what I was used to as the norm when I hear him in a lot of like be it features or some like singles that I've heard that are more in the singing and the croon, the R&B side of things.
Yeah.
And so I actually really enjoyed that pacing of the album when songs were a little bit harder. I actually really liked 6 Summers and Mansa Musa, which were some of the like. There were others on there as well, but those were definitely more rap tracks. And I think those were maybe not your favorite parts.
Interestingly enough, like 6 Summers actually managed to get on like both my standout tracks and worst tracks.
Okay.
Because it has sort of like a beat switch in the middle where it goes from the more like rappy to a more
Right. Yeah.
more, and I really like the second part of the song,
Okay.
but I'm not a big
Makes
fan of
sense,
the
yeah.
first.
Okay. I see that.
But it's definitely a good song though, and I mean like even the
Is someone at our door? Is it?
I think so.
I don't know. I'm gonna check. You continue. Keep the people engaged.
Are you leaving me all alone?
We
Oh
have
my
a-
god, this is.
There could be a doorbell ringing.
And I could talk about anything now. Maybe not even music. Okay, now it's just us, guys. We can talk about secret stuff. Oh, okay. Seriously though, I'm gonna keep on talking about the album, and one of my favorite tracks was the lead single for the album, "Tints," featuring Kendrick Lamar, and I thought that was really nice.
What the fuck?
Nice track. What's
I don't know. Some girls at the door like trying to sell me something like school fundraiser or some bullshit.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What was she selling?
I don't know. I just told her, "Oh, we're recording something right now. I'm sorry." I tried to tell her in Swedish, and I was like, "Goodbye," and then closed the door.
Maybe it was crack.
Well, it probably wasn't crack, but if I had to take a guess, I'm guessing it wasn't crack because there was like paperwork. So she had like a little brochure. I don't think usually you like come around with like a little
Maybe they're trying to like go professional on us.
take it more white collar.
Yeah.
Could be. Anyways.
But anyway, I was talking about "Tints," the track with Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, it's interesting. Go ahead.
Because that was one of my favorite tracks. So I was like, it's the lead single from the album. So I feel like they felt like it was a strong song, and I enjoyed it because it sounded more like Kendrick's like old stuff, like older stuff.
Yeah.
Like Section 80, Good
Yeah.
Kid, Mad City vibes. I wasn't a big fan of Damn, and I know that's some people might be mad at me for saying that,
Yeah.
but I wasn't a huge fan of it.
It was middle for me. Damn for me it was a few tracks worth repeating. It wasn't as consistent as other stuff for me.
Absolutely,
But,
and I feel
yeah,
like Humble was one of like the most like overrated tracks.
it was pretty overrated.
Yeah.
I can agree on that.
He has so many good tracks, and that's like not one of. It's not even in the top 10 or top 15, top 20. I don't know, but anyway, it was a good track, and I would love to hear like an entire mixtape with them working together. I feel like they were.
I had an interesting like thought when I was listening to that track and then listening later.
Yeah.
Some inflections, which I would not be surprised if there's influence there, especially over these last couple of years, is the quality that Anderson .Paak has to his voice in some of the rapping tracks.
Yeah.
Actually gets very Kendrick-like.
Yeah.
And there was because of that song early on being a feature. I think that was earlier on in the album, if I remember right.
Yeah, it is. It's like fourth, fifth.
And
track.
so I definitely there was a section or two later on the album where I tabbed over to Spotify to see if Kendrick had more than one verse on the project, just because there was a point where I thought that Anderson .Paak's voice sounded quite similar, but it was not. But yeah, it was something I thought about when I was listening to that. But I like that track as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just had the thought that I would love to hear like a mixtape with Kendrick, Anderson .Paak, and Chance the Rapper together. I feel like they could like work together really, because they can sort of work on the same type of tracks, like the same type of instrumentals. I feel like they can make it.
I feel like Chance is a little bit odd man out in that.
I don't know. Sometimes I can hear the like. I wouldn't.
Not that it would be bad, but
No, but it feels like Anderson and Chance sort of sometimes have a similar vibe, like in their like instrumental and the instrumentals and the way they sort of like do like a half singing, half
yeah,
rapping
I can
type
see
of
that.
thing. but that's a funny
I
thing.
feel like Anderson Paak's more like the bridge between them.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
that's what I was
exactly.
getting at because like it's like Kendrick, then we get to Anderson, but you can't really find much in common with Kendrick and Chance, but
Yeah.
like you said, he's bridging them like absolutely. Yeah. So that's about it.
Rating wise for this, I actually, like I said, I liked this one quite a bit. I'd probably go a 7 to 7.5 for this.
Yeah.
For this album.
Yeah. I started out with typing down 7.5, but after listening to it on the way over here, I thought that no, it's a 7. It's a 7 out of 10 for me.
I can't wait till we have an album where it's like an all out war of like this was a 4 and I was
And
like
I'm
this is my album of the year.
It's gonna happen.
It
but,
will.
But so far we've been.
Yeah.
And just so you people know, we're not discussing the scores before the actual podcast. So this is all spontaneous and
Spontaneous inspiration.
yeah,
It's happening here.
Yep. And I've already decided before I came here, like what my scores are gonna be like. So I'm not saying anything just to
Yeah.
just to be on the same page as you. But also I'd say I really like the track with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
That's because it definitely took me back to the G-Funk era.
Absolutely. And when I was talking with my sister about this, and she was like, "Oh, all the features though. We got a lot of people." And then she was like, "And Snoop Dogg doing Snoop Dogg stuff on it." And I was like, "Yep." And I was like, "That's how long's he been doing Snoop Dogg stuff? A long time. You know it right away. You don't really need to switch it up." And
no, but it's some of the most Snoop Doggiest things that he's done
in a while.
In a while. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. And I also feel like I might have given the album a higher score if it wasn't for the fact of current situation, like the weather outside. It feels like a summertime album for me anyway.
It didn't fit the mood.
No, and that actually is something that
affects your listening.
That affects my listening, absolutely.
Okay.
All the way. So, but 7 out of 10, good album. Check it out.
Oxnard, a summer 8.
Exactly, a summer 8. It's a winter 7 and a summer 8.
Okay.
So yeah, check it out.
I recommend it.
Or wait until it gets warmer. I don't know. It's up to you.
Maybe revisit it in the springtime.
Yeah.
When the snow melts. Snow hasn't fallen yet though. I'm still waiting for snow. I like snow.
I know.
I love it.
I mean, I like the artists. No, Informer.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, say that I miss no me, I'll go blam. I like you boom boom down. Oof, that's nice. What a spontaneous inspiration moment we just had there. Let's the meme of the episode. Next up was Grapetooth by Grapetooth.
Yep. Grapetooth by Grapetooth. Yeah, it was released 2 weeks.
Tell us a bit about Grapetooth.
Well, Grapetooth is a duo from Chicago, Illinois. And they're consisting of members Clay Frankel and Chris Biloni. I think that's how you pronounce it. I might be wrong, but I'm okay with that.
Sorry if it's baloney and we're wrong.
Then it would be. It's actually spelled Bailoni, and it's not Bologna.
Okay.
I hate the spelling of baloney.
Yeah, it doesn't make
sense. The spelling is baloney. I mean,
it is. It's complete baloney.
Yeah. But anyway, I think they met through like common friends back in 2012, and they started like doing music together.
Oh, damn, you got some backstory.
Yeah, I got some backstory.
I like that.
Clay Frankel, he played in another band called Twin Peaks. I think they're sort of like semi-famous, or like some people know about them anyway. But they started doing music together back in 2015, but it wasn't until now that they released their like first album.
That's Grapetooth.
Exactly. And Grapetooth, well, they got their name from the fact that Twin Peaks manager called Clay Frankel Grapetooth because they had done some heavy red wine drinking, and Grapetooth, and teeth get like a bit like blue tinted almost.
I kind of like that. I didn't know where it came from. So
nope, but it's Grapetooth. I mean.
Okay, yeah. Let's get our grape teeth on.
Yeah.
Cool. Speaking of which, a track we both liked was called
Red Wine.
Red Wine, indeed.
Yeah. Red Wine was one of my standout tracks. It's sort of like one of the slower tracks on the album. And it's a bit interesting because I feel like the vocalist, he has sort of like a some of the tracks are more energetic, and his singing is almost like a shouty, yelpy type of singing. And I really like both his styles, but he also has a few tracks where he's like crooning a bit more, and this was one of the ones that were more like mid-tempo and more and it was basically what I could gather from the lyrics. It was about like drinking cheap wine, like drowning your sorrows in cheap wine, and reminiscing about like someone who's left you, because it had sort of like lyrics questioning about who she's calling and whose bed she's in right now or whatever. And I mean, that's relatable for most of us at some point in life. Yeah. So I mean, like, and it has like this very like funky guitar riff. That's like it continues on for most of the song, and yeah, I really liked it. It almost has like this chill wave-esque type sound. I don't know if you listen to any chill wave, but
not
so like have you heard Washed Out?
I don't think so.
Washed Out. Okay. Anyway, really good.
I'm depending on you in this podcast to expand my horizons.
Absolutely, and you're
and we're doing it.
Yep.
Interesting you mentioned the different vocal styles throughout the album as well. One, I had it's a style that like works for some people and some people like when we talk about the more like croony vocals and stuff. I was not a fan of some of that vocal delivery.
The more crooning.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a little. It got a little. There were times basically where it bordered on one of those singers, almost like you can think of like someone who every once in a while catches flack for their tone. Say like a Bob Dylan that was singing an octave lower. Yeah. And what I mean by that, like that, like you're not denying that the person has talent and a lot of people like what they're doing and that you can enjoy what they're doing a lot of the times. But undeniably, like, sometimes it can hit your ear kind of weird, and it seems a little, like, off.
It is an acquired taste, I feel like. And I don't think, like, the point of his singing probably isn't to be, like, spot on. He's, like, not trying to be, like, this super poppy singer that...
Very crystal production on everything.
Exactly. I mean, this album sort of like... I actually want to draw parallels with the former Vandal album that we reviewed last week.
I thought that as well.
I mean, it has a very different sound.
Yes.
But it's still sort of like similar, like... it has this 80s vibe, but in a completely different way. It's less nostalgic and soft, and... But it still reminded me of like being young, being like... I mean, some people might say I'm still young. I don't know. That's up to you to decide, but anyway, like when you were like a teen, like a teenager, and just running around doing like stupid shit with your friends and everything, just being like semi-rebellious and just, I don't know, I got this like image in my head of like just being stupid and pushing my friends around in a shopping cart outside and just like, like kids do, like being stupid.
That was one of the first things that happened to me when I moved to England. First night out with my housemates, there was like a shopping cart, which I quickly learned they called a trolley. It was like out on the sidewalk, which I quickly learned they called a pavement. And but yeah, basically we're on our way to a club, and they were just like, "Hey, you're smaller than any of us." So then I hopped in that and I rode in that to the club. Probably lucky that I got into the club the first night, because I would learn those bouncers were pretty strict if they saw like shenanigans coming around the corner. I probably hopped out before we rounded the corner. Anyways, tangent. Go ahead.
No, that was interesting.
Back to Grapetooth,
Would you have listened to Grapetooth if they had been around when that happened?
I don't know, possibly. It to be 100% honest with you, this band seems like something that some of my housemates would have listened to. They're very into like kind of like the discovery and some of these sounds that are more indie, but in a variety of ways.
The release actually sounded a bit like it could be like from the UK. I don't know if you thought about that, or if you
I don't know if I really.
You don't see it, or
not necessarily that I don't see it, but I didn't think about that one.
Oh, okay.
When I was listening to it.
But anyway, like their sound is it's very poppy, but it's done in a more like raw, like unpolished way.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you like indie pop or basically guitar and synth-based pop. That's a bit less polished, and I think you would enjoy this album without a doubt. I was reminded, like, at times the vocals reminded me of this band called Woo Life. I don't know if you've heard about them. No. And also a bit about
That's gonna happen so much in this
and
podcast. I don't know if you've heard of this other band. No, I'm sorry.
No.
It's a no.
It's gonna happen, and I mean,
It's good though. It's good.
and also the vocals reminded me a bit of the Tokyo Police Club. I don't know. I think I'm gonna be alone in hearing that. It was just like at parts when he does the more energetic, like raspy, yelpy singing. I don't know.
I like and like I said, I liked that that vocal tone and that inflection probably more. I enjoyed
that's
that.
actually surprised me. I thought you would like the croon
More mellow.
Yeah, because like from what I know,
maybe from like I understand why you probably like why you think that, and maybe from like a like overall mood of the music. I think it was just the tone of his singing in those songs that I wasn't as big of a fan of. But you're probably right that in general that that stuff I would like more.
Yeah, but anyway, I read some interviews and reviews with them online, and basically someone described the album as being like a forgotten soundtrack to a John Hughes movie from the 80s. I don't know what you think about that.
Which movies are John Hughes movies?
Oh man, I don't remember now. That's embarrassing.
Well, I mean, it's maybe more embarrassing that I didn't even know it in the first place. So I don't.
He's made like some of the like
phone check. Can I get a phone check?
Phone check.
Okay.
This is like
I'm very bad with directors and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. So. He did Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller's Day Off and stuff. Yeah,
I like both of those.
I remembered Ferris Bueller, but I wasn't sure. So
got it. Yeah.
But sort of like that vibe, and I mean, I can see it.
I can see that too. Yeah. It makes sense now.
So, if we're talking about score for the album, what would you
this one for me, I would it's a interesting being like when you start like reviewing or thinking about reviewing or putting scores to music, that how much do you weight like personal
preference into the whole
versus like the most objective you can be about quality and creativity in the different parts of the album. I will say, that like I enjoyed it more than maybe I thought and more than you. I remember you mentioning like, I'm not sure what you'll think of this one when we talked about choosing this. So I enjoyed it, but I think for me still might not be a genre I would pick up on my own very often.
No.
But as far as like how it was made in general, what went into it, I think one of my issues with this sound, and I didn't run into it as much with the former Vandal album because there was a little bit more of a mood switch that happened very distinctly in the track list.
Yeah.
I did get a little bit bogged down on this album with even though it's clearly different instrumentation, with it being too easy to kind of have a lot of stuff blend together and after an intro have a kind of opening guitar, drums, everything comes in, where something's felt a little, after enough tracks I was kind of like, I'm ready for almost a completely different sound. And that one that was a little repetitive for me. The thing with the singing as well, it's a little bit, that's bordering on personal preference as well. For me, I would go 6 maybe with this.
A 6. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about giving this 7.5 to an 8.
Okay.
So that's
at least you didn't say 6.
No. Because I personally enjoyed the album. It's definitely up my alley. Basically, it's.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. You said up my something, so I wanted to just.
I just took a long break also, so it's like up my. Well, anyway, I think it's a 7.5 out of 10. Like, there were some tracks that I felt didn't do much for me, and maybe it would have been better as a longer EP, maybe rather than a full album. So they could have skipped some some tracks near the not the absolute ending, because they had a few good tracks there. I think one was called Blood that I enjoyed, but like between the middle and the end part, they had a few forgettable tracks there that could have been skipped out on. But overall, I enjoyed the album, and I see myself listening to it after this. I don't see myself just
Never revisiting her.
Exactly. I mean,
Right.
I feel like I'm gonna
I think
listen.
that's gonna. Obviously, you start doing reviews and things. That's going to be an occurrence that happens with some of the projects that you.
Yeah, that you listen
come
to
across.
it for the review and then you never listen to it again. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I see myself picking this album up and listening to at least a few of the tracks, like Red Wine, for an example.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, personally, I enjoyed it, but it's definitely more my type of music. So, I mean,
Have you saved any of these the tracks from this album to your library so far?
yeah,
so
I mean,
far,
I've saved the entire album to my
Okay,
library
okay.
because that's how I do it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Because I normally like, even if I save an album, like in my I don't know, like saved songs or a playlist or something, I will like pick out individual songs or something like that are like particularly stand out, because most of the time I'm not gonna listen to a whole album again front to cover. I was just wondering if we could have like a special like thing for if there were standout enough tracks that were not just stand out in the context of the albums, but like you personally save them so you could play them later, listening or whatever. But yeah.
But if there was one track, it would have been Red Wine.
Yep.
Without a doubt.
I really like that as well. And I think that was the other thing too, when you mentioned it being like mood and a little slow. We can move on soon, but that was probably another thing too. Is that was what is that second track or?
Yeah, it's the second track. Yeah.
And that gave some more dynamics to the project pretty early on.
Yeah, because the first track is very energetic and very
exactly.
fast paced.
And so I almost wanted a little more shifting throughout. Was one of my issues with it. Now we have our sort of indie or small, not technically indie, because there's her and another person who is basically a one man or one woman label working with her, but our smaller artist release for all intents and purposes. And this is Mary Hennessy, and she is a 20-year-old singer-songwriter from Liverpool. Lists George Harrison, Mac DeMarco, and a few others as inspirations, which we'll talk about as well. Self-taught from the bio I have, so self-taught in guitar and singing and very grassroots, and has been working on this album for some time, balancing with being a university student and working part-time and work on this project. This is a 4-song project that came out on November 16th. And Sebastian, can you tell us the title of the project and what you found out about the title of the project?
Oh God, this the EP is called Hanahaki. I don't know exactly how you're supposed to pronounce that, but Hanahaki. If you're googling it, it's Hanahaki. And I need to actually go to Urban
Dictionary.
Urban Dictionary.
Phone check. Sorry. I'm gonna stop it. We're gonna end up like just with like a soundboard, like on like Family Guy, the Weenie in the Butt radio show.
Yeah.
It's a soundboard.
Yep. We're gonna
Phone check.
Phone check. Okay, so Hanahaki is a fictional disease.
So don't worry, you can't get this for real.
Maybe you can. I'm not sure. I just because nobody's
You just
had
said it
it
was
yet.
fictional.
So far.
Okay, so far.
Maybe someone invents something like this. You never know. Anyway.
You say invent.
Okay.
Invent something.
Create. Okay, sorry. Maybe create in a laboratory.
Yeah,
I'm very sorry.
I'm sorry. I should just let you explain. Hanahaki.
No, I don't feel like it anymore. I'm leaving. No, but anyway, it's a fictional disease that apparently often appears in fan fictions where the victim regurgitates and coughs up flower petals when they suffer from unrequited love. And the illness can only be cured through surgical removal, However, any existing...
What did they remove though?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I read something about there being sort of like...
The unrecorded love, obviously.
Actually, that is removed. But,
Okay, good.
But I think it's like the roots or something, because I read something about roots growing inside of the lungs or something.
Naturally.
But, naturally, obviously. Of course, it's gonna be roots in the lungs.
That's how they stick around.
But anyway, any existing romantic feelings are also removed with the infection, apparently.
Cut them out.
So that's about it. And
I thought that was so interesting when you looked that up to find out what it meant, and we found that
and
for it.
if they don't have the surgery, their lungs are gonna fill up with flowers and they will suffocate eventually.
To be clear on this, right? I think it's a fitting name for the mood of the project.
Yeah.
And we're not making fun of the project based on this.
No,
purely
absolutely
just
not.
There's so much joy in finding this definition and just this funny, like, that I had no idea this was a concept of a disease where you're throwing up flowers and
dying from it. No, I need to specify that as well, because without going too much into the sound of the album, I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was really good.
Or EP, I suppose.
Yeah. But and Hanahaki, like if you just take it out of without reading too much into it, it's actually it's kind of suiting for the, like you said, for the sound, and it's just the actual description of it. It's
just a great visual.
Yeah.
Once you find out what it is.
And basically, you all need to know that there is no specific flower for this disease, but it will either be your crush's favorite type of flower or their favorite color.
So one of the two.
Yep. And it can last from 2 to 3 months, but sometimes a couple of weeks before you pass away.
Rip.
Yep.
Rest in peace. Literally killed by love.
Yep. But anyway, that whole thing, if you think about it more as a metaphor for unrequited love and dying from it, it's
from the heartache.
Yeah. I mean, that makes it an interesting title for the project. So I mean, it's not as ridiculous as the description makes it sound.
Yeah.
But
any artists who happen to listen to this, please do. I came in contact with this project basically just through Reddit and making posts about that we were looking for some music to review for this next episode. I must have had like 30 plus messages in a day from a lot of people, so thanks for people for sending them in. But if you have something, then it's very easy to get in touch with us. So we're just starting out and stuff. So but I was glad that's how this one was sourced. So sent to me in a message there. We talked and then got the rest of the tracks via email. But the first track that we heard. Oh, go ahead.
Also, to clarify, you can find this album on Spotify and Apple Music as of now, and probably other streaming.
So it was out on the 16th.
We got the tracks in an email before that, but now it's out for everyone. So you should check it out as soon as you can. I just wanted to say that so we don't forget it. No. So continue on. Yeah.
And so it was, I believe the track Comfortability was am I saying that right? Yeah. What I think was if I'm not mistaken, the video that I was sent first, or the single that I was sent first for us to kind of listen to before we decided, send the rest of before I asked for the rest of the project. And I think I would still say that it was my favorite on the project. I think it was, in that sense, it was a smart move to have that one be the first one, kind of out in the ether. I really also liked the Falling in Love Alone, the opening track.
Yeah.
The two other tracks that we have, I'm just bringing it up on Spotify right now. We have In Between Ourselves and Tomorrow Will Be Yesterday. Yeah. And I really, there's basically nothing in this that I really disliked on this project. I thought it was really well put together, especially for a small release. The mixing and polish on it still sounded quite good.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't perfect. But it didn't sound like it was supposed to be either. It had a bit of a lo-fi quality to it,
Yeah.
and that worked really great with the sound itself. So it's not
Right.
it's not a complaint. I wouldn't necessarily say that I want more polish to it. It was just it worked really well with the whole ambience going on.
Right.
There was a lot of reverby guitars and pianos, keys, whatever.
I think for me though, I think that the sound, the mood is consistent, and it makes sense as a project. I think at least I had a couple of listens through this. It was easier to do since it was the shortest one that we had.
Yeah.
And I think still, when I said the Falling in Love Alone and Comfortability were my favorites, I didn't dislike Tomorrow Will Be Yesterday or In Between Ourselves. I think they something worth noting is that these are longer tracks for how short they are.
Yeah, they were
They're 5 minutes,
5 minutes
long.
Yeah.
And sometimes on those ones, it was a little bit of a lull for me that it went on maybe longer than I wanted that individual song to, and that's probably why I didn't highlight the other two as much.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like the entire EP has sort of a similar vibe going on, but it works so well. It's just you're sort of just dragged into the atmosphere of the release itself. I mean, I really like the sound of it all. It just sounds like it was when I listen to it, I feel like it was. I mean, it probably wasn't, but it feels like it was recorded in a small cottage somewhere outside of the big city, just
outside of Liverpool.
Outside of Liverpool, but that's not what
cottage.
That's not what I envisioned. But actually, I thought that she was from the U.S. first, so I just I thought she was from.
Yeah, accents disappearing and singing is a discussion for another day. It's always fascinated me.
Absolutely.
I was reading articles about it the other day about why it is.
Yeah. I mean, she doesn't have any specific accent when she's singing, but she also has that very drawn out singing, sort of that makes it harder for accents to actually
hide.
No,
damn it.
Not hide, but on it makes it easier for the accents to be hidden, in my opinion. And I actually don't really know what kind of accent they have in Liverpool.
I wasn't actually. I didn't ever visit Liverpool when I was in England, so.
No, and I've never been in England. Just
Rip.
so everybody knows.
Still though, we went first, second, third. I'll let you, if you don't have any else specifically, or when you're done, you can give your score first for this one.
I actually have a bit more that I would like to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Explain a bit more about the sound for people who haven't actually heard it yet.
Sure.
I mean,
good idea.
I mean, it's very ambient, folksy type of sound. It's sort of folk indie ambient. It has pianos, keyboards, guitars, some string sections. I don't know, might be programmed strings. I don't know if she plays any of those instruments.
I'm not sure.
But it's the entire album sounds very, to me anyway, it sounds very longing and heartbroken. I don't know. I couldn't find any lyrics, so I'm not really sure what it's about, but just listening to it, what I feel and everything, it just sounds very, I mean, it's a sort of a dark and dreary sound, but it still has that small, hopeful or maybe longing type of sound. And I wrote this in my my notes, and I said that it's being covered by a big wool blanket while snuggling up in the couch on a cold November day.
Rain on the cottage window.
Trying the best you can to ignore the darkness and rain outside. That's what I wrote.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I feel. That it's a
no writer's block on that one.
Nope.
Descriptive. I like it.
But anyway, it just sounds it sounds like an intimate release, intimate EP, the lyrics.
Intimate release. What are you going to say?
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
An intimate release.
God damn it!
The big release, the intimate release. We got it all this week.
I'm really sorry. The English language failed me today, or I failed the English language. I'm not sure, but anyway, it's not my first language, people. I'm sorry. After this, I'm gonna.
Don't commit seppuku. Just.
I'm gonna commit some Hanahaki, harakiri.
Commit.
No, but anyway, it reminds me a bit of. Yeah,
Sorry, go
gonna cough up flowers.
Yep.
Anyway, it reminded me of this artist called Grouper. I don't think you've heard her.
I
No.
don't think so.
From what I know, like a U.S. musician. Also, just
Okay.
one, like a woman who just
Singer-songwriter.
yeah, exactly. A singer-songwriter who plays the piano. I think like her albums doesn't feature as much guitars as Mary's album, or EP, whatever.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of that. They have the similar like ambient type of sound going on.
We had someone identify the wine in the live stream chat. It is the Apothic Red.
Yeah. We should talk about that because wine is gonna be
Staple, apparently.
Yep.
I'm all right with that.
Yep. But anyway, I feel like this is a great album or like a great EP, like a great starting point for a new artist, and I feel like
Yeah,
She
this
could
is really impressive.
yeah,
I think.
she could definitely do great things if she just keeps going at it and just I mean, in the future, I might like to.
I'd love to know some details about. Maybe we'll find out later about like how it was recorded, where it's recorded, how she did that, how much was her own, was there studio time involved with,
and lyrics also. I would love to read more about it, and I look forward to hearing the
next
what's up next
What comes next?
for Mary Hennessy.
for sure.
So Mary Hennessy, Hanahaki, check it out on
Spotify,
Apple Music, probably Tidal, probably
everywhere,
everywhere.
but we know it's on Spotify
Yeah.
and Apple
So
Music.
stream it there. Stream it a lot.
Yeah, show some love.
Yep. And as for score, I don't know. I did write down 7 out of 10, but I think I'm gonna go with 7.5.
I'm going 8.
Are you going 8?
I'm going 8 on this.
Yeah.
In the context as well of kind of like this, smaller artist bracket that we're doing.
Yeah.
I think this was like for being like at this point in like career-wise early on, and like I said, kind of the amount of polish, what it sounds like, cohesiveness, how much I look forward to or don't. You have a problem drinking water? Or...
No, I started thinking about the intimate release.
Oh, the intimate release. Okay, that's what got him. A little laugh attack here about the intimate release, a little latent joke coming back, but yeah. So I'm gonna go with 8.
8. Okay.
Big props, Mary Hennessy.
Yeah.
Don't forget to anyone else to send music our way if you're wanting to be someone that we review or talk about, or at some point we're gonna do interviews as well. So look out.
Yeah, and if even better, I mean, I doubt it, but if you're an artist traveling through Sweden, and if you do music, if you do photography, if you do painting or anything creative, and you want to come on the show and
You're gonna make a stop near Stockholm, then let us know.
then let us know, and we would love to have you here, or come to you and just have a
We would love to come to your hotel room,
and have
2 men, and bring our video equipment,
and have a little intimate release, or what are we talking about here?
I don't know.
I'm just kidding. But anyway, if you want to be on our podcast and talk to us about your creative endeavors, we would love to have you on.
Right on.
So what else? What else do we have for today?
We're gonna end it with some current. Normally we kind of just end it here. We're gonna talk about some current happenings before we wrap it up. We can be quick about it. What was on your mind?
I don't know. Was it something about Tekashi 6ix9ine?
Oh yes, it was. Looking at a lot of jail time.
Yep, he's gonna get 69. I mean, no,
69 years.
No, 32 years.
Okay.
In jail. But
Yeah.
he's gonna get 69 in jail. That's my.
It's gonna be. It's always interesting with artists as well, where we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm not
And usually they all.
invested enough to root either way on this. I just
I mean, yeah, no.
no. I just think like it's always interesting. They're like, oh, surely they won't like get out of this or whatever.
They usually do, though.
They usually do. Although the ones where people have fucked up are usually these situations exactly. We've seen people go to prison for this before, or go to jail for this before, which is exactly of dodging a lot of charges that most people would have been put away for. And that they would have been put away for, and they get parole instead of jail time.
Oh, yeah.
And then they do something stupid under that or during that parole period, and that's what ends up actually netting them some time behind bars.
Yeah.
Which
but it's
happens an unfortunate amount. But
I read somewhere that Takashi had only two fears. Like, there was only two things that he truly was afraid of, and one of them was God, the other was the FBI. And and that was the day before he got
got indicted and arrested. And everything.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I think he was denied bail and everything. Like, I don't think.
Yeah. No, they were like a flight risk. Like, he has enough money to fuck off to some country that won't extradite if he really wanted to. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It doesn't.
It'll be interesting to see that play out.
It doesn't look good for him, but I still somehow doubt that he's gonna get like the full 32 years or whatever they said.
It's unlikely.
I mean, rich people, even if they're scumbag rappers, they usually don't get the full sentence.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Take some time. Point is, if you're fortunate enough to make it out of shitty circumstances, try not to land yourself back in them. With but one of these things as well that I think that it's easy kind of outside looking in to think about as well is that it seems like it is a complete dumbass move to like violate parole when you've gotten these chances and you have plenty of money to not need to do things that violate parole anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's it is one of those things where you're asking, you might if you're someone who's not religious, you might question how is someone convinced by this, or where's the logic in something like this. And I think also like sometimes it's like a lifestyle that might lead you in that way is something that by necessity has been embedded since you're a kid and you grow up with that and you do those same things, and regardless of financial circumstances changing, can be hard to break out of. I don't want to cast too much there's no weight in my opinion behind this. It's not something I've dealt with or have to, so it's
I just think like he said, he came out today and said that he only used he was being like a gangster to further his career.
But I think that's been kind of like people have talked about and like I would say known or assumed before, because he's like associated with both Bloods and Crips, and then like kind of like waffled the like line on like trying to like please everyone but be a part of things for publicity. And
I also feel like it's hard to get out of even if you're on probation or parole, whatever. If you're like in a gang and you're all of a sudden want to be out. I mean, so maybe
I'm done now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he did the things that he did even though it could land him in jail, and because otherwise he would have been dead more. He could have been dead instead of just 32 years in jail. And I know that some people would definitely prefer jail over death.
Well, we will see what happens.
We will see.
The Rainbow Warrior. Yeah. Cool. I think that's basically what we've got for you this week. We will wrap up the actual recording and maybe hang with Chad on the live stream for a couple of minutes. But in general, thanks a lot for you guys being around. Send us music, howtoartpodcast@gmail.com, and also link up at howtoartpodcast on Twitter, on Instagram. You can search How to Art Podcast on YouTube as well to find us there. It'll take a little bit to get kind of SEO'd up and make sure we're kind of showing up in the right places for everything on YouTube, but it'll happen. And we will be recording another one soon, and basically every 2 weeks is still our kind of schedule right now.
Yep.
And so whenever you guys are hearing this one, look for another one a couple of weeks after that. And let us know what releases coming up, even if it's not something you're doing or you're not an indie artist. Let us know what we should talk about in an episode. You know, if there's something like the writer's block, but something else you've been wondering about, it could really be anything. It could be, we'll do research. Put our own experience, and also we can go research things if you're wondering about utilizing Instagram as an artist, or you have specific things about, you know, we could go into some mixing things. Why not? If a lot of people are interested in music, so let us know if there's topics, and let us know if there's releases you want to hear about. Yeah, intimate releases, big releases. All kinds of releases that you want to hear about. This has been How to Art. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.